We're going to come straight into seated posture, just using a block for seasoning as our only prop. And we're going to take the feet out wide and allow yourself to lean forwards a little bit. You might even need to put your hands underneath to sort of give yourself a chance to get into the more of the front edge of the sitting bones and off of the tailbone. And then allow yourself to sit upright, and we'll just bring the hands in towards the heart. We're going to just stir the pot. So we're going to keep the elbows more or less shoulder height and hands in towards the body. So I'm not actually reaching the hands forwards. I'm going to lean out to your left, take it round towards the front of the mat, and then allow yourself to go out to the right and lean back a little bit as well, just holding the tummy muscles in, pressing the heels into the floor a little bit, trying to press the heels away, toes flex towards you and spread out a little bit as well. Now, if you have been sitting for a long time and your body is a little bit stiff, you definitely want to take this as small circles. I'm not taking particularly big ones anyway, but you don't want to be trying to sort of stretch as deep as you possibly can. You're just trying to wake the lower back muscles and the discs up a little bit and get a little bit of blood circling around and get a little bit of a stretch into the hamstrings and just check everything is working how you want it to. I'm going to take a few circles around in the opposite direction as well, because sometimes that can feel a little bit different and tell us a little bit more of a story in terms of how the body feels. And then coming back into the center. Going to cross the heels into the groin, so avoiding crossing the ankles if possible, and allowing ourselves to sit up nice and tall. We're going to draw the arms out wide, start to work into the shoulders a little bit. We're going to start by taking the eagle arm, so I'm going to bring the left arm over, then the right arm over the top. I'm going to see if I can keep the elbows the same height as the shoulders, and forearm coming vertical. Actually going to try and relax the shoulders down to keep the elbows elevated and out in front. And try to breathe into the back of the shoulder blades. And I'm going to release the arms out. A little shake. Take the arms back out again and cross them over the opposite way. And then release the arms again. Little shrugs each way. And we're going to come up onto all fours. Let's move the block out of the way a little bit. And sit down onto the heels, knees together. So a variation, very slight variation on hero's pose, where the knees would be together and the feet wider than the hips. I'm actually going to sit on top of the heels. So just working into the knees, a little bit into the thighs, and stretching open the front of the ankles. And I'm going to place the hands gently onto the thighs and allow the pelvis to move towards the back of the mat. So the spine rounds and the head drops as you exhale. Inhaling, I'm going to start to tilt the pelvis forwards And let the chest lift up and the shoulders roll back. And then tilting the pelvis towards the back of the mat so you get that sort of natural desire to round your spine. I'm just pressing the ribs a little bit towards the back of the mat as you squeeze the air out of your body. Coming forwards again. And gently back out. Forwards. One more time. And then back out. Now, obviously, if you happen to breathe radically different to me in terms of the length of time, you just breathe and work to your own breath. We'll come back into neutral. We're going to take the hands forwards and this time tuck the toes under. Squash them under as much as you can. Going to sit onto the heels and see if I can bring my body up so that I'm taking the full weight into the toes. Alternatively, keeping the fingertips on the floor if that feels a little bit too much of a stretch in the bottom of your feet. And then starts the slowest 30 seconds you've ever endured. It's strange how 30 seconds can take a long time sometimes. You just try to keep that breath soft. Try and keep the heels towards the sitting bones rather than letting them splay out to the side. So feet are more sort of squarish to the front of the mat. We'll untangle from there and let ourselves come forwards. We'll just tap the toes a little bit into the floor. And then we're going to tuck the toes of the left foot underneath and slide the foot back and allow ourselves to lift that leg away from the ground. So you're going to press into the opposite leg to get the left leg to lift. I'm going to slowly take the right hand from the floor, palm facing in. Let's stretch out through the fingers, press out through the heel. I want that leg to feel like it's really extending behind me. And trying to keep my heart and belly button and pubic bone on the center line of the mat. And ease the hands and the leg back down to the floor. Cross over gently to the opposite side. Pressing into the shin again. We're going to lift the leg. We keep the hips nice and square to the ground. And we take the left hand out in front. Keeping the belly drawn in. I'll bring that hand back down. I'm going to keep the bend in the knees as they are. Press down through both hands and the right shin. Keeping the hips square to the ground. I'm going to take the left knee out to the side and lift it as high as I can. So it looks like I'm a dog cocking my leg a little bit. Sometimes referred to as the thigh hydrant, which is probably a better way of terming it. I'm just going to squeeze the outside hip a little bit. You want to avoid letting the elbows bend. You push away from the floor, press into the shin, keep everything nice and strong through the body, and then ease that knee back down to the floor. We'll take a breath, prepare, press down through the three limbs. This time the right leg's going to come out. We're going to lift that as high as we can without rotating through the torso. And we'll bring that knee to the ground, nice and gently. Take the knees out wide, untuck the toes, going to sit down into child's pose and gently, taking the hands out nice and wide as your mat, and out towards the front. Taking some long, juicy breaths into the back of your ribs. And we'll come up onto all fours into down dog. So just sending the hips back. Rotate the armpits towards the ground, hands flat on the floor. I'm going to press the heels towards the back of the mat. So not down, try to press them away a little bit. Ideally, the heels hiding behind your ankles as you look towards your feet. And the feet are about hip distance apart. Now I'm going to allow the feet to go as wide as the mat. Walk the hands in far enough so that the heels can come to the floor, but only just. So I'm pretty much still in my down dog position. And take a breath and take the left hand to the outside of the right ankle, just rotating underneath. Pressing down still through both legs, trying to keep the hips on the center line. Last breath. And bring the hands down to the floor again, and then we'll cross over to the opposite side, twisting the body underneath. And bring the hands back to the floor. Just bringing the feet gently back into normal position. We'll come into a plank. We'll let the knees come down to the ground underneath the hips. Taking the right hand out to the side, inhale up. Going to thread that through and under. Drop shoulder and ear down to the floor. Inhale, the left hand towards the sky. Use the exhale to bring the hand down to the floor and push away from the ground back to the fours. Take the left hand out. Rotate the spine round. Float that under. Take a little breath. Extend the right hand to the sky. Use the exhale. Bring the hand down, push away. All fours. Now I'm going to take the knees wide, sit onto the heels, and that brings me pretty much sort of like 45 degrees to the ground, maybe a little more, but enough to allow me to take the left hand underneath and through to the right, and drop that shoulder and ear down to the floor, walking the right hand out onto the fingertips, straight arm, and then easing the hand over towards far left side of the mat, keeping the arms straight, so that the chest opens a little more. Still trying to be on the fingertips. And we'll walk the hand back. Let it come in a little bit. Lift up again to that sort of 45-degree feeling in the body. And then we'll slowly ease the right arm out to the left. The left hand goes forwards. Walks the fingers over to the long right hand side of the mat. Straight arm. Let's rotating the chest round. And working the hand back again. Lift up again. And I come onto all fours and just allow the feet to go forwards. And I want to be far enough forwards that as I lay down onto the floor, my head is on the mat. I want to bring the heels in towards, we're going to come into bridge pose. So the feet are now about hip distance apart, parallel to each other. I'm going to turn the heels out very slightly. Palms are down by the side of the body, just wrapping the shoulders underneath a little bit. Drawing the belly down to the floor, and then beginning to peel the tailbone away from the ground, and then pressing into the feet. So let the hips lift up towards the sky. I'm going to inhale the hands up towards the ceiling, and exhale them to the ground behind me. And take a breath there. Lift up on the tippy toes. So breathe in. Ease the heels back to the floor on the exhale. Inhale up onto tiptoes again. Exhale it down onto the heel. Inhale, heels away. Lift as high as you can. Ease the way back down, heels to the floor. Inhale it up again, high as you can. And this time we're going to keep the heels away from the ground, but draw the hands up towards the sky and ease them down to the ground where the hips used to be. And then keeping the heels away from the ground, I'm going to roll the spine gently down to the floor. Be over 1 or 2 breaths until the lower back comes all the way to the ground. Then you can drop the heels to the floor. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, we'll curl the tailbone away from the ground and lift up towards the sky. On the inhale, we'll come up onto the tiptoes, drawing the hands towards the sky, and using the exhale to move towards the back of them with the hands. We'll take another breath in, and we'll roll the spine down to the floor, leaving the hands where they were, and getting that tailbone all the way down to the ground. Heels come to the floor, and we'll swoop the arms up on the breath in, and use the exhale for the hands to come down. We'll take a breath in, curl the tailbone away from the floor, come up onto the tippy toes, carry on lifting the hips up. Inhale the hands towards the sky. Draw into the back of the mat as you exhale. Take a breath in once you arrive. Leaving the hips high, we're going to roll the spine down to the floor again. Inhale the hands high. And exhale, heels and hands down to the floor. We'll take one more breath in. Now allow yourself to lift the tailbone, lift the heels. Let the hips lift up, lift the arms, float at the same time. We'll take that breath to the sky with the arms towards the back of the mat. We'll stay elevated with the heels and then roll the spine down. As we exhale, we'll leave the arms behind. And as we arrive, we're going to just wiggle the feet in towards the center of the mat so the knees touch. And then wiggle your feet back out again. A bit of a long way to do that. So they're nice and wide, but the knees stay together. Got little TP legs going on. We'll take the arms out nice and wide, so the hands are now in line with the chest. And gently let the legs roll over towards my left side. Head turn very lightly towards the right. Just coming onto the side edge of the feet. Pressing the top and the bottom leg down towards the ground with the shoulders flat on the floor. But sometimes we do this completely passive. This is a little bit pushing down, so a little bit engagement being created in the spine and the hip muscles and the back muscles. We'll lift the legs up on the inhale as we relax and let the legs roll over to the other side. And take your position, turn your head, and then start to press the legs gently down. A similar amount of effort through both legs. Bring the knees back up. Cross the ankles as we bring the knees in towards us. Wrap the arms around the chin. And also squeeze into a little ball. And roll onto the right side, using the hands to press into the floor, lift up, and ease my feet towards the back of the mat. I'm going to come down onto my belly. And allow the hands to come out wide in front of me, about shoulder distance apart. I'm going to turn the palms in, so a little finger is on the floor. Pressing the thighs into the ground a little bit as I roll the heels outwards. I'm going to lift the chest just enough so the bottom rib is still attached to the ground, and then draw the shoulders back a little bit. On the inhale, I'm going to take the right hand to the sky. On the exhale, I'm going to bring it down. Inhale, I'm going to go to the left, up, exhale down. Going to cross over again. Right breath in, exhale. Left breath in, exhale it down. Right and left. I'm just getting used to the idea of pressing into the opposite hand to the lifted hand to help with the lift. Last time, coming to the left. Next time, I'm going to take the right. I'm also going to lift left thigh, pressing into the right leg, and then crossing over to the opposite side. Clearly, I want to try and get the hands at least as high as they were before. And point out through the toes so the back leg that's lifting stays straight. As you're working into that hip flexor as well as your lower back muscles and mid-back muscles. Almost there. Last one. We'll come down. I'm going to take the arms out wide into the ground. I'm going to bend at the elbows. So I've got nice 90 degrees here, palms flat to the ground. And then bend the knees, the toes pointing towards the sky. On the exhale, I'm going to allow myself to lift the chest, the thighs, and the hands completely from the floor. Try not to pull on the neck, so keep that more or less into a neutral position. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Lift your feet as high as you can. Press the knees away from the floor towards the ceiling. And then allow yourself to come back down. We'll tuck the toes underneath, hands down by the side of the ribs. Peel away from the floor. Bring the knees forwards again. Wide, toes together. Child's pose. Just stretching out gently. And then lifting the head, look towards the hands. Lift your bottom a little bit to tuck the toes underneath. Sit onto the heels and then let the knees lift away from the ground as you turn your feet slightly back and come into that down dog again. Now from here, we'll just walk the hands towards the toes. Now we're going to come up onto the fingertips with the hands sort of the torso's length forwards. And allow yourself to turn the palms in. So you just want your sort of middle finger pointing into the ground. You're having to lift your body a little bit forwards and up to stop yourself sinking into your fingers. And then on the inhale, you're going to draw your right arm forwards and up to try hopefully line up with your torso and your hip. Bring the fingers down as you exhale. Inhale the opposite hand forwards and out. And back down. You're going to feel that a lot in the legs, so you might need to soften the knees a fraction, keeping the tummy muscles drawn in. And we're just trying to get the legs and the arms to work together. Oh, that's hard work. Mentioning I was feeling a little cold earlier on. I can't say that's the case any longer. And I'll take it to the last time to the right. Last time to the left. Hands to the floor. Walk the fingers back into the front end of the mat. So down dog. We'll come straight into plank. So we'll allow the shoulders to come over the wrists. I'm going to lift the right leg away from the ground. And we want to try and have the leg about the same height as your shoulders. And ideally your hips the same height as your shoulders as well. Pressing out through the leg that's attached to the ground and the leg that's raised. And again, keeping the hips nice and square to the ground. We'll ease that foot to the floor. Take it across to the other leg. Now, pressing out through the heels, you should be able to feel the muscles around your knees engage and pull up a little bit towards you. We'll ease that foot to the ground and let the knees come to the floor. We'll come down onto the elbows. So we're going to come into Sphinx pose, easing the hips down to the ground, shoulders over the elbows, nice and wide rather than forwards, and then turn the palms up towards the sky. Lift the chest forwards and up. Now you're going to see if you can bend your left knee, and on the exhale, you're going to take your left knee away from the floor, pressing into the right thigh. Ease it back down. Allow the foot to come to the ground again. You're going to cross over to the other side, keep the body lifting up. And as you exhale, draw the belly in, press the thigh away. Ease it down to the floor. So it's just a little lift, 1 or 2 seconds. Crossing over to the other side, lift up. Lift the thigh away. Ease it down with control. So we're not trying to jerk the leg, we're trying to do a sort of controlled press to lift. Again, we're working on that front hip flexor. The more we're able to raise that away, the more flexibility we have through the front of the pelvis. And you might notice that it feels like one side is able to lift higher than the other. That could be just that you've got a slightly more dominant leg, or it might be that you've got that hip flexor. Could be either of those. Last one. Bring the knee down. Whew. Feet down to the floor. Into the ground. Arms out wide. Bend the elbows. Got the skydiver, part 2. You're going to take a little breath. Bend each knee. Toes towards the sky. On the exhale, going to lift the chest. 5. Arms away from the floor. Squeeze the shoulder blades together a little. Almost there. And down. Okay, we'll take the hands to the bottom of the ribs again. Elbows back, shoulders back. Peel away from the floor. Draw the knees forwards. We can sit onto the heels just momentarily. Roll the shoulders around a couple of times. And then take the feet out to the side. Knees bent, hands behind. Going to take some reverse tabletops. So going to allow the chest to lift, roll the shoulders back, lift the bottom off the ground. Come forwards that little bit. Allow the hips to lift up towards the sky. Now, ideally, your heels want to be just underneath your knees, so you might need to adjust a little bit on the first one. And then on the exhale, you're going to lower your bottom almost to the ground. Slide all the way back. Point the toes. You're going to pivot on the heels a little bit. Drop your bottom to the floor. Allow yourself to lift slowly, just the left foot, pointing the toes. Bring it back down. Take the right leg, pointy toes, up towards the sky, straight leg. Allow the heels to come to the floor. We're going to lift the bottom off the ground, scoot along the ground, flat feet to the floor, bottom and heels touch, and let ourselves lift up. And take a breath there. Ease down almost to the ground. Slide it back. Pivot on the heels again. Body comes forwards a little bit. Sink into the ground. Allow the left leg to lift. Then the right. Lift the bottom off the ground that little bit. Scooch along the floor. Soles of the feet on the ground. Lift back up. We'll come almost down again. All the way back. Pointy toes. Bottom to the ground. Left leg lifts. Right leg lifts. We come down, press away from the floor. Scoot forwards. Lifting up. Coming down for the last one. So we're going back. Pivot. Sitting bones to the floor. Left leg lift. Right leg lift. Last time lifting up. Scooting forwards. Slow lift. Down to the ground. We'll tuck the ankles over. Allow ourselves to come onto all fours again. We're going to come down to the belly once we've arrived. Allow the body to be extended out towards the back of the mat with the feet and the hands forwards. They're off of the mat, but wider than the shoulders. We'll walk the hands in to lift up a fraction and take the left hand out towards the right side, 90 degrees. So just dropping the shoulder away from the ear before I move. I'll walk the right hand forwards and lower my body down, and then walk the fingertips of the right hand all the way over to the left. So 180 from the opposite hand. I'm just going to allow myself to sink into my arms and breathe. I do want enough distance for the chin to hang over the arms so you can still swallow and breathe, which means that you actually have to roll the shoulders down towards your pelvis a little bit to get your arms out of the way. Press into the thighs, draw the belly in. Use your back muscles to lift that little bit, to untangle your right arm first of all out in front. Then you can get a little more purchase, a little more height, get the left hand out. Take a moment to breathe. And then when you feel ready and capable, your right arm's going to go out 90 degrees. Going to lower down as the left hand travels forwards, and then walk the left hand out towards the right side. Again, 180 out to the side. Now, there's a good chance that if you've never done this before, that you could get stuck. If that happens, just remember to allow yourself to press into the thighs and lift the body, and then you can untangle the arms. And again, if you've not done this before, it could feel like a very big stretch underneath the shoulder blades. And again, we're going to start to lift. So we're going to press down, feel the belly in. Lift the spine just that little bit, untangle. Get the arms out slowly. Ease the chest down to the floor. As your chin comes to the ground, we'll take the arms out wide as if we're going to do a press up and then come up onto the fingertips. On the exhale, we're going to move into gecko pose. We're going to press into the fingertips. Lift the chest forwards a little bit. Inhale on the way down. Exhaling again. Try and reset the shoulders away from the ears each time you come down. It's surprising how they migrate into places that you didn't know that you used to. And we're going to come one more time. And ease our way down. Bring the feet together, take the arms out wide, palms facing down as your chin comes to the ground. You're going to bend the left knee, take the thigh away from the floor. Scorpion's pose. I'm going to lift that foot up and across, roll onto the right side, and see how close I can get my foot to my hand. I'll lift the knee high, purposely taking the longest roll down to the floor again to bring the foot to the ground on the opposite side, and then take the right leg, bend the knee, lift the thigh, again, just try and get as much lift as I can first. Let the head turn, ear to the ground. Walk fingers in and out as you need to allow for the twist. Lift up high again, roll yourself to the belly, foot down, cross over, gonna lift up, roll it out. Come back over. We'll go over to the left. A couple more to do to each side. Okay, this is the last one. Roll ourselves back again. We're going to lift away from the floor, heel ourselves from the ground. We'll take the knees forwards and wide and allow ourselves to come into child's pose. Now, in this child's pose, we want to take the hands out as wide as the shoulders, but palms up towards the sky. So rotating the thumbs out to the long sides of the mat. And we'll send the palms down. Allow ourselves to come back up onto all fours, and we'll lift into down dog. Now drawing the right foot through to the center. And bringing it forwards. We're going to allow ourselves to take the hands away from the ground, alongside the body. We're going to lift the body about halfway-ish, and then float the arms forward so they start to line up with the torso. We'll float the hands back towards the hips, trying to keep our balance. And then allow ourselves to take the hands forwards again. And float the arms back and forwards. and back, and forwards, and back. We'll come forwards, and then bring the hands to the floor. Let the back knee come down to the ground as you untap the toes. Scoop the hands towards you, float them forwards and up, lift all the way from the ground into a low crescent. We'll take the arms out wide, bring the hands in towards the heart as we breathe in. We'll rotate towards that right thigh, slowly fold over, and allow the elbow to go to the outside of that thigh. Lifting the chest, hands start to line up a little bit more with the heart, not precisely, but getting closer. Shoulders are rolling back. I'm going to ease the hands down to the floor. Allow the right hand to travel forwards. I'm going to take the twist. As the hand goes towards the back of the mat, I'm going to scoop the back foot in. Draw that heel in towards the butt. Keep the chest turned open. Draw the front knee in towards the center line a little bit. Try and drop the hips. And then we'll release that foot to the floor. Swoop the arm over. We'll lift the back knee onto the fingertips. Stepping into the front of the mat. Forward bend. Bring the hands onto the hips. You'll lift up slow. Get the hands high. Bring the hands through the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Let's step back into down dog. I'm going to take the left foot through. I have to think about that. Felt like a really long time ago. And allow yourself to lift that little bit off the ground. Bring the hands alongside the body. Inhale the hands forward. That's the power of speech as well. It's concentration. Bring the hands back alongside the hips. Inhale forwards. And back. Forwards again. And back, pressing out through that back heel, keeping the belly in strong, front knee over the ankle. Arms come forwards again. And back, we'll take the hands forwards for one final time. And bring them to the floor. Drop the back knee, untap the toes. Sweep the hands alongside the body again. We lift up all the way to the sky. Bring the hands in towards the heart. Take the breath in as we rotate to the left. Fold it over. Inhale the body up a little bit from the floor. Now, ease the hands down to the ground. Allow the left hand to travel forwards into the twist. The rear foot's going to come in. Spot it out of the corner of your eyes. Bring the heel to the butt. Drop the hips. Squeeze the front knee in. And then we're going to release. Bring the foot to the floor. Up the toes underneath, the knee lifts. We're going to step into that forward bend again. Bring the hands to the hips on the inhale. Use the exhale to lift. Inhale high. Just freeing up the hips a little bit. And then coming back down to the floor again. As ever, softening the knees as you come in. We'll step back gently. down dog. You want to have your feet a hip distance apart. You can allow yourself to walk your hands in. And as you do, allow your knees to bend. So keeping the knees off the ground and sitting onto the heels, we'll begin to take the hands forwards and up. So we're squatting down, sitting on the heels basically, hands out in front. Squeeze the thighs together a little. Start flaring out to the sides. Focusing on the front of the mat. Breathing slow. Try and relax the shoulders even though they're lifted. Use the hands down to the floor. Now I'm going to just step the feet forwards. So I'm onto the bottom. Scrunch forwards a little bit, hands behind, chin towards the chest. I'm going to start to roll gently down. Take the arms out wide. Whew. Wiggle the feet in towards the center line. Take a little breath and extend the left leg to the sky. Now I'm going to cross that leg over and bring the foot back down. You'll see if I can wrap that foot underneath the calf of the opposite leg. I'll bring the knees up above the hips, shins parallel to the ground. Now, having done that, left leg is on top. I'm going to take the left arm up and the right arm over the top. I'm going to bend to the elbows again. Bring the palms together. And this time, I'm going to see if I can draw my elbows towards my thighs whilst keeping my shoulder blades flat on the ground and the belly drawn in. So I'm not going to curl the spine. I want to keep it long and flat, but the emphasis will be drawing the elbows towards the knees and not the knees towards the elbows. And release and untangle. And take the legs up towards the sky, point the toes. Have the feet directly above your hips, flat to the floor, arms out wide. So you're going to draw your middle and lower back into the ground. Try to relax the shoulders and the arms out. Legs straight, toes pointing, thighs squeezing together, belly drawn in. Now ease the feet down to the floor, close to the bottom, gently. Take your breath. Inhale your right leg up, cross it over, wrap it around. Again, doing your best to hook the foot underneath the back of that calf, or as close as you can get. Knees draw in a little bit. Right leg on top this time, so right arm comes across first. Left arm over the top, under the elbows. Draw the elbows down, press the shoulders into the floor, middle lower back presses down. So it feels like you're kind of doing a stomach crunch, but you're not lifting away from the ground. You're just pressing down the opposite way. And untangle the arms, take the legs up towards the sky again, pointing toes. I'll let the feet come down to the floor. I'm going to walk the feet out wide again. These stay together. I'm going to let the legs roll out towards that left side. This time I'm going to be more relaxed and just let the legs hang and see where they wish to fall. And lift the knees up. And realign if you need to. Reset in the feet if you need to, and let them drift over to the opposite side. And we'll bring the legs back in. Take a little breath from there. And draw left and right knee in towards the body. And allow the hands to travel onto the shins through the insides of the thighs, and just allowing the heels to walk in towards the groin a little bit by using the hands inching down the side of the shins. And now holding on to the ankles and the soles of the feet turning in a little bit towards each other. Nice long flat spine. Keeping the heels right against the groin. Shoulders drawn back so you can feel those back muscles working again. Along with the arms, obviously. With your hands hold onto your shins. And then we're going to walk the fingers down. So you take hold of the little toe side of each foot. The knees are nice and wide now. We're simply going to come into happy baby, taking 1 foot at a time above the appropriate knee and keeping the tailbone drawn down towards the floor. Gently lower the feet to the floor. I tend to do that one leg at a time, aiming for the center line. So there's no real big shocks in the spine. It just kind of uncurls very gently. And then I can slide one heel at a time out to the corner edges of the mat. So I'm pretty much keeping the body as in contact with the ground as I can. I come into Shavasana, just taking the arms out to the sides, palms facing up. And let myself just roll through the fingers, through the wrists, and my ankles and toes. I wriggle through the shoulders, the hip. I flip flop the feet backwards and forwards a little bit to help with that shake out. And then eventually allow myself to settle to stillness. The only movement is caused by the breath. Allow yourself to yield, noticing anywhere where you're holding on, and see if you can let go a little deeper. Making the lips if the jaw is a little tight. We'll begin to wriggle these fingers and toes. Wriggle into the wrists and the ankles as we breathe a little deeper into the body. To reconnect, allow yourself to stretch. Just follow your instincts. Trust that will be enough. Know that it will be right. Sensitive. Gently just sliding the heels along the ground towards you. You're going to bring the knees in again. Just get the hands around the shins for a very light hug. I like to rock from side to side. Some people like to stir the hips. Whatever it is, just keep it really sweet and soft and easy and gentle. I'm going to use the momentum of my wriggling from side to side to roll onto the right side with the knees staying in. And then turning the chest to the ground and allowing myself to press away from the floor with a hand so I come up beautifully smooth into that seated posture. Hands come into a heart as I take a breath in, the eyes closed. Longer breath in, followed by a slow exhalation, letting the chin drop first and finding the belly drawn to the spine, simply bound to the floor to seal the practice. And as the spine builds again, as the breath comes into the body, letting the head lift, the eyes open. Namaste. Thank you for joining. Hope you enjoyed a slightly different core yoga class this evening, working on the back muscles. See you soon.